A few weeks ago, I showed you the new features of the 1025R, 1023E, 2025R at the Farm Progress Show in Iowa. We're here at Equip Expo, and I've got a little bit more detail and some clarification. I wasn't quite correct on certain details. I want to go through these updates again with you.
This video sponsored by SimpliSafe. There's no safe like SimpliSafe.
So let's start with the biggest item, and that is the single point connector. And the changes here in the hydraulics. At the time, I wasn't sure if this was optional or just how this was going to market. Now I understand this much better. If you get the 120R loader from the factory, the single point is included with it. It is standard. This is all installed at the factory. You can see these hard lines right here. All installed, the single point connector, the loader installed at the factory. That is standard. Now what's new, and we don't have to show here, is there's a new loader called a 120E loader. That loader is new in that it is not a quick detach loader.
While I haven't seen one of these in person, it appears that removing 4 pins will allow this loader to be removed from the tractor. Additionally, from the photos we see here, the hydraulics are connected with the same 4 quick disconnect couplers that we're used to on the prior generations. On the front end, you'll find that the John Deere Quick Attach is standard, so it's easy to switch from bucket to forks to grapple, whatever. Now for some opinion. I don't see this particular loader being very popular. I think most dealers will spec the factory-installed 120R loader, and I think the slight increase in price is well worth it.
This particular machine does have an option on it. This is a 2025R, but it has the third function. The third function outlets have moved. They used to be up here right in front of the single point connector. Now they're down here, at least on the 2025R. It seems quite low to me. I'd like to see those up just a little bit higher, but that's where they are. Notice there are no quick disconnects here. So if you're trying to use a snowblower or blade, you're going to have to figure out a way to use the top half of the single point connector. I pointed out the 4 locations here on this fender piece for 4 removable switches. Now I said that was new in 2023. That's incorrect. It was new in 2022. I apologize for that, but these 4 switch plates are replaceable. You can put in any simple little rocker switches there and make it look quite integrated. There's some discussion online as to whether this can be upgraded on an older machine. We may try this at some point. Some folks are replacing the fender as well. I may try it without the fender just to see if I can make that happen. But this looks nicely integrated. For our Summit hydraulics, for example, rather than having the extra bracket out here with the 4 switches, these 4 switches might be able to fit right in here. This is what we hope to try in the future. New feature in 2022. This model year is adding a place to store your manual behind the seat, and it's a little more advanced than some of the ones I've seen on other models. It's just a good place to put your book that you never read anyway. It is something that I don't read enough, I admit that. Hey, I want to point out something up here. This canopy is obviously not standard. I don't know a lot of details about it. For example, I don't know if it's rated to be trailered at 80 miles an hour or whatever. It's a poly plasticky canopy. It doesn't feel incredibly stiff, but that actually might help it on the road. I don't know. It does have an integrated fan. Integrated fan here in the canopy. I traced the wiring down here. It goes toward the front of the tractor. I don't know for sure if it goes all the way to the battery. It may go to that new electrical connection that we showed as an option in 2020 on our tractors.
You guys know that we have SimpliSafe, so I have a story for you. The other night I was in the kitchen here just working around at dinner, and all of a sudden the SimpliSafe base went off. I get a phone call and a text message that we've had a water leak underneath the kitchen sink. So I get underneath the sink and I clean everything out, and I find the water sensor that I put in there a couple of years ago, and I feel around, and sure enough there's water on the bottom of the cabinet. I was able to turn off the valve for the hot side, the hot supply to the sink, and get that mostly stopped. And then Tim was able to replace that valve and no big issues. Had we not had the Simply Safe water sensor under there, I probably wouldn't have noticed it. I had a bunch of cleaning supplies in front of it, and I don't normally get back in the back of the sink. So it really saved us a lot of money and probably time and effort by having the water sensor in there. If it had been left, it would have damaged the cabinet and then probably eventually would have leaked down into the crawl space of our house. So Simply Safe really did save the day. And right now, if you want a new Simply Safe system, it's 40% off for the holiday season. So check out Simply Safe at simplysafe.com/TTWT.
My daughter keeps telling me the fanny packs are out of style, but in this case, I'm disagreeing with her. So we're looking here at a remote-controlled mower from Dixie Chopper. It's quite nifty. 44-inch, two-blade cut, track-driven. As you can see, it can mow either direction. So like if you go up a hill, you can just mow right back down, move over a little bit, mow back and forth. You don't have to turn it around each time. The controls are very easy to see. There's really no issue with the controls, forward, back, left, right. Deck height can be adjusted. Now, when the deck height is adjusted, the entire machine essentially goes up and down with respect to the track. So there's really no issue with that. This is essentially the Vanguard oil guard system. The purpose of this system is to keep the engine from running out of oil when you run it on a real steep angle. This machine's rated to run at 55 degrees. Now, I don't know if you guys have ever seen 55 degrees on an outside slope, but we find that somewhere around 38 to 40 degrees, I have trouble walking. I really have trouble staying on a slope. This is rated at 55 degrees. Now, this is a unique drive system. Yeah, the tracks are unique, obviously, but this is a gas engine with a generator and then electric motor. So gas over electric. You can think of a freight train, right? So each engine is driven independently. It's quite fuel efficient. 2 gallons will run you several hours. I think it's only got a 2-gallon tank. You can run it up to 500 feet away from you. This is a production unit, but I'm not sure about availability, and I'm not sure when it's going to be available for purchase, nor am I sure of price. I asked them, I pushed them really hard, couldn't get any details on that, but it is a full production unit. I thought you might enjoy seeing this remote controlled lawnmower for extremely steep slopes. We're in front of the Stihl zero turns. That's right, Stihl zero turn lawnmowers. Just introducing them here at this show, puzzling to me. The whole concept of Stihl introducing lawnmowers is quite interesting to me. And they're supposed to be available the beginning of next year at certain locations. I think something like 55 dealers nationwide. Not near every Stihl dealer is gonna have this mower. This is essentially a Ferris. I think at some of the lower end, they're Simplicity, but most of them are Ferris lawnmowers from Briggs & Stratton Company, of course. You can tell that very quickly by looking at the spring suspension right there, and you say, hey, I recognize that. It looks just like a Ferris. Indeed, they've made a few small changes. I don't really even have any of the details on any changes they've made, but from my standpoint, I just consider it a Ferris lawnmower. I thought you might be interested in this. In some ways, it brings up more questions than answers for me. Of all the outdoor power equipment that Stihl might introduce, it seems interesting that they would try to compete in the zero turn and eventually stand on lawnmower space. I'm quite interested in that. There are so many manufacturers in this particular product category that I'm very surprised to see that. I'd like to hear your comments about that below. Hey, I gotta mention this. See this line of folks here? To me, this is one of the most fascinating and I would say a little bit odd parts of any trade show we go to. What we're seeing here is a long line of folks waiting to get a free hat. Yep, they're waiting to give all of their information to the company to get a free hat. I mean, it never ceases to amaze me how much effort people will go to get something free, but it's just part of the trade show environment and part of the culture. Hey, the most fun part of the show has been getting to spend some time with
John from A Ritter Bit Will Do.
And
Neil, Dig Dry DIY.
good stuff. We have a lot of fun together every time we get at one of these shows, and I hope you guys have enjoyed it half as much as we have. Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you next time on Tractor Time with Tim.
Whoever conceals their sins does not prosper, but the one who confesses and renounces them finds mercy.
If it can be messed up, I'll mess it up. It's product level now, but we're having. You're gonna have to be a little more. You're gonna have to be a little bit more bold, dude. It's a physical blockade, is what has to happen here.